Hello folks, very quickly now, if you've not seen previous episodes, don't watch this episode, it's quite spoiler heavy. Hopefully now you're here because you've seen everything before and you're at this point. Hi. So today's not going to be a regular episode. Today is going to be a look through the inner workings of Salford City. It should be quite good fun. I get to look through a few old faces, a few old names, see players that were good at their peak, and we can look back through a few of those as well. Now we're at the point of winning the Premier League title. I feel like it's an appropriate time to take a look back through memory lane and remember some of the good times. And we'll start off with the screen run right now. Then we started in I think it was like the 8th division, the 8th tier of English football, or something along those lines anyway. There's obviously quite a few divisions at that level, which then form up into play to one division. You get what I mean, like the Vanarama North-South then combines into one division. Peter Phillips is still our club captain. John Paul Searle is our hot prospect. He's come through our youth system, has been here a little while now, had lots of different loan spells, and this year got his first sort of game time, proper game time anyway, for us in the Premier League. Applied himself in Europe as well. He's been around a little bit, and hopefully continuing forward, he will continue to be a fantastic footballer for us. Our key player, Casper, hard to argue, mentally fantastic, physically just incredible, and technically not too bad as well. It's best off as a defensive midfielder, despite the fact, it just makes me laugh. We trained him as a sweeper, and actually in recent years has been playing in a central midfield role as a box-to-box midfielder, and has been doing very well at that too. I think in terms of the actual squad, if we take a look at it here, it's currently very, very well rounded. It's got little bits that I want and everything I need. Diego Vidal is one of our standouts, with Caselli as well. I mean, when you look at players like this, you can see why we've won the league. There is some fantastic talent within this side. Gile Menga, another one to name. Kovalev, Menga, Manzo, Hessing, a lot of players that are at the top of their game right now, in their peak. You look at the ages as well, they're in that sort of 22 to 28 year old bracket, which you'd hope they would be. Now, enough of the current lineup, let's take a look back then, let's go through memory lane, and I think the only place to start is the best 11. So here is the best 11 Salford City have ever had, if you compare it to some of the previous players we've had too. Marky Parky in goal then. I like the fact it plays a 3-4-1-2 formation, that is very, very nice for me. Nash, the Burn at the back there. Is it the Burn or the Fire? Now, Johnny Burn was called the Fire. We had a player called Callum Burn who was the Burn. The Fire then was Johnny Burn. Ankerbrand at the back with them. Jeff Thomas, Vidal. Rob Wellington was in the middle after 152 appearances. He may well be overtaken quite soon, actually. Barry in the centre as well. Kovalev, might surprise you actually, 130 games for Kovalev. Only been here 3 years. I have been working his body to the bone, but he's done well for us. The Harp and Marius are our front two. I don't know if I like that as a front two. I think I do. I would prefer it if Andy Tannoy was instead of Rob Wellington, and I would prefer it if like Danny Webber was up there as well, but they didn't score as prolifically as the Harp, who is one of our top goal scorers. May well be our top goal scorer actually throughout the save. I think he is. If you want to look through the records, actually, well, first of all, just feast your eyes on this. That was our first ever 11. If you want to, by all means, if you want to have a little pause, we've got the Cow there, Alan Mugan, who I just called the Cow. Callum Burn, who I mentioned before, was called the Burn. And yeah, there's a few other names you might recognise there. Craig Tidy, Gareth Sutton, and Danny Webber. All have been doing things in their respective business. I think Gareth Sutton's been a lower league manager for some time now, if he's been around a little bit. If you take a quick look, yes, Staley Bridge, Cowan Bay, Ramsbottom, Bedford, Hampton Richmond, Bognor Regis, currently at Cribs. I assume that's an MTV production. But yeah, some of these players are still with me. We had Peter Phillips in that first year. It's quite funny, really. 11 appearances, 2 goals, a 7.46. Had the highest average rating that year, which is hilarious, really. And so as you go through the years, you'll see players there that we've had, that we developed the squad, really. I mean, I'll flick through. If you want to pause at any point and just take a look at how they performed year on year, then by all means do that. Ollie Lawson was there, Pedersen in the middle. It's strange to look back. That's when we had Jim Williams, of course, as well in goal. Then Marky Parky was brought in, and the defence evolved, as did the formation, as you can see from here. And now in our sort of current seasons, we've been going through 2 formations really, and this is what we've settled on this year. Feldmar on the left, Sergio, Manzo, Caselli, Casper, Kovalev, Hessing, Ankelbrand, You're Not German, Oliveira and Renan complete the side this year, and then again here's the overall 11. If you want to take a look at the manager screen, we've won. Like, the fact I can't scroll this is annoying. Like, we've won a few bits and pieces. We've won 3 league titles. I think the worst thing about that is that the titles we've won are the Evo Stick Northern Premier, the Vanarama North, and the Premier League. In between that, it was like 3rd place. It was a 3rd place finish, and 3 lots of playoffs. Bloody hell, Ben. What are you doing? I made it difficult for myself, I'll be honest. But there we are. We've won the Europa League too, of course. That happened in the last episode. We've won 449 games, one off the 450 mark, and that's just under half of all of our games, which I don't think is too bad at all. I'll take that, you know. If you take a quick look at the records, well, they're the highest transfer fees paid. That's a strange thing to look at. Modern day, then, these are all the records. You might be interested. Our longest stretch without losing was last season or 2 years ago. 17 match unbeaten streak, lost in a row was 7. Now that wasn't that long ago. That was what? So that was seven or 8 years ago. I think it was over a Christmas period. We just lost 7 games in a row. Not fun. I remember it well. Our highest scoring game was one of our first ever games, actually, a 7-4 over Marine. Our biggest defeat was a 5-0 to Nottingham Forest. I remember that, actually. And our biggest win was against Fylde. Oh, Fylde! Who remembers a Fylde? That's another little blast of the past. Our oldest player is Joe Hart. Our youngest player is David Harkin, a player that a lot of people question me about, and until recently hasn't been playing that much football, it has to be said. The last 3 years at Cardiff he's played a lot, but before then, since leaving us for 3 million in 2022-23 season, he's not really featured, and you wonder how much he would have progressed and developed had he played more games. He's probably the player that I get asked about more than any other, actually. A lot of people want to know how he got on, because he left for such a big fee at such a young age. So there you are, David Harkin, the Irishman on the left-hand side. Still a decent player. We might even try and bring him in. We're not going to bring him in. So yeah, if you want to look at any of the rest of that, then do by all means pause it and have a little look. What I actually want to look at today, though, is the players, and we can go through, look at some familiar names. This is the top goal scorers then we've had year on year. I mean, we'll look at top league goal scorer. I think that probably makes a little bit more sense. Seddon, Davis, Capend, Hitchcock, Harp, Lawson, Renard, Carter, Peters is there, Sedi's there, Sandoval, Mengele and David Manzo in recent years as well. The highest amount of goals in one league season, like domestic campaign, was the Harp. 35 goals in that 2001-2002 season. Used to get a lot of shit for playing the Harp. That's why I still trust in him. The memories made me trust. Most goals in a match, David Manzo got it this year against Schalke. He's the first player I've ever had score 5. I've had a few players score 4 before. Sonny Aluko, the Harps, got 4. Igor got 4. And Julien Menga got it last year as well. In the early years, Elliot Pond got the most this season, scoring 2. 2 goals. We didn't go up that year. We did not go up that year. That was another where it took 2 to go up. Oh, bloody hell. Most assists then, James Paul kicked us off with quite a handsome amount there, actually. 14 and 16. Jamie Mena. Was it that one? It was one of those songs. Nathan Holland. Jeff Thomas had 3 fantastic years on the assists, and then retained it again, actually. Only with 9 assists that time, but still had the most in the team. Rob Wellington. Josh Harp with 15 was an absolute beast. Marius, Peter, Barry, Jeff Thomas again. In like years later, Jeff Thomas had a bit of a resurgence. You might recall. Then Peter got 50 in a year. Coselli was up there. Colombino, and then Caselli this year has set the record with 30 assists. Not bad at all, my man. Not bad at all. How much did we buy Caselli for? I forget. 11.75 million. Signing of the whole thing? I don't know. It's not bad, is it? Won the league with him, so I'll take that. Now, highest average rating reveals some great things. It really underlines why Andy Tannoy was such a cult hero within the save. Callum Byrne or the Fire. Was he the Fire or the Burn? He was the Burn. I had 2. It's very confusing. Luke Clark got there as well. I think Luke Clark starts at Salford in real life as well, so nice for him to be on the list. Andy Tannoy then, 2 years, a 7.26 and a 7.59. It then became the Jeff Thomas show for 4 years. Rob Wellington, Steve Hall, the Harp, Barry, Edcart, Casper, Barry again, Colombino and Caselli this year. So many assists, he's going to be up there with average rating, and he's done very, very well indeed. A 7.76 ain't too bad. The highest, though, does go to Jeff Thomas, an 8.02. I think that's the year where he got 29 assists, so you can see why. Most Player of the Match awards, this kind of highlights just how good Jeff Thomas was in those years. 13, 15 and 11 back-to-back-to-back. This year, like in the last 10 years really, 8 has been the most, and that was this season when we win a title, ironically enough, with Caselli up there again. Worst discipline's quite funny. There's only really one name that stands out, and it's Matthew Willock, who picked up 4 red cards in a year. Some of you will remember that season. I remember it well. I remember being very angry with Matthew Willock and probably sold him on not long after that season because he was just too unreliable. In recent years, we've not been picking up that many red cards. Ankelbrand has had a lot of yellow cards, but never a red. So, respect to him. We are quite a respectful team, actually. We don't mess about. Youngest player, if you want to pause and look, then by all means have a look. I mean, it's worth looking at Bilal's hair just for one last time, because that is a mysterious concoction he's got going on. Bilal was the player that could play striker and centre-back. Some of you will remember. Oldest player, again, if anyone's interested, Andy Tannoy had it for a few years. He will have done. I played him in every single last game of the season. Youngest goal scorer. Some familiar names in there. Stephen Hose is in there. Gary Farrell, the left back. He's now a coach or chief scout at Hampton and Richmond. James Taylor in more recent years has been there, and John Paul Sall got it this year. Oldest goal scorer, Barry, Alberto Seri, Brendan Galloway. Strange to see some names on that you don't expect. Jack Rodwell, David Luiz. Who remembers that transfer? That was a moment. He's the Corinthians reserves manager now. Also, just as a complete side note, and I might show more of this sort of thing in the world look back, which is I'm going to be doing as well, is that Neymar is Santos manager, and something about that makes me very, very happy. I mean, he might not be now, he was a few years ago. Fans Player of the Year then. This is who, I don't know if you would have given out these awards, but our sort of fan base did anyway. Callum Byrne, Luke Clark, James Paul, Andy Tannoy is in there. Jeff Thomas 4 years in a row. Josh Harrop, Steve Hall, Mikel Renard, Nathan Joshua, Barry, Philip Eckhart, Casper and Caselli. So Jeff Thomas has won it 4 times, Barry's won it 3 times, and everyone else has just won it once, which I absolutely love. I love that the fact that year on year we have a different winner every time. I love that. I adore that. Our fastest goal, 26 seconds by Jonathan Capend. I think that's the quickest one. 17 seconds by Carmine Caselli. I tell a lie. We had it even earlier. That year, Marius scored... No, sorry, which year was it? Dan Carter, 5 minutes in. We were not scoring early that year at all. In the Championship. I think we went up that year. Confusing. Okay, then there's a few things for you to admire and look at, and it gives you quite a nice overview of the things we've done. General stuff you might be intrigued by. We only have... This is ridiculous. I mean, actually, I'll show you facilities first, then we'll come on to it. So we have 36,500 all-seater stadium, and it was built 4 years ago. We have a stadium sponsorship. You can see our facilities are okay. They're quite good. We've had some incredible regions come through, actually. Sort of ridiculously, but at the same time, very pleased. That obviously the years where I don't show you are the years I'm very underwhelmed, and we've had a lot more of those than sort of the standout. I think we've had 4 or 5 years of the 17 where we've had a guy come through and be like, wow, this guy is pretty special. Peter Phillips, Macaulay Kidd. David Harkin would be an example. John Paul Sall would be an example. They're the players that have come through and sort of wowed us. Apart from that, there ain't been that many. There's been a lot of dead rubber years where we've had like the best players being half a star, so I've ignored those. So yeah, our stadium capacity 36,500. Our season ticket holders, as you can see on that right hand side, 3,700. Now we're back in the Champions League. You wonder if we'll get given a little bit more in terms of season ticket holders. Maybe there'll be a few more people come across from those other Manchester clubs. You never know. Take a look through then. Legends. It's Barry Massey who starts on the game as a club legend. The Harp and myself are also legends. The icons list is where it's really at though. Jeff Thomas, Barry, Caselli, Andy Tannoy, Casper, Andy Tannoy! Just couldn't get enough. Luke Clark, James Paul, Josh Harp, Nathan Joshua, and the favourite personnel are some of the more recent names. Along with The Fire and Jim Nash, which I'm fine with, Manzo and Caselli. Round that up. Our estimated value then, £500 million. We've not had any dynamic rivalry at all, so I'm hoping one of those might develop in the next couple of years if we continue to play. You never know. Who knows? Who knows? So yes, we have finally then, after 17 years, we've won the league. I'm just going to quickly show you some of the team overviews, like where we compare still to some of the rest of the teams in the division. We've risen a little bit. So this is the one I wanted to show you, despite the fact we still spend a ridiculous amount less than the top teams. I'm talking about the top 5, the Chelsea, Tottenham, Arsenal, City, United situation. They spend all over 100 million, where we in 13th spend the 13th most amount of money on wages per year. There we are then in 13th, and we've beaten them all and topped it, and I'm very, very pleased. Our net transfer spend this season, did we making money? We didn't spend a single thing. Okay, maybe is that the new year? I'm confused. That screen didn't make any sense to me. Derby have been busy. Jesus Christ. So yes, there is a little look back at the history of Salford City. If there's anything else you'd like me to cover just to do with Salford, then tweet me, leave a comment, and I will do my best to reply and tell you the thing that you wanted to know that we didn't quite look at. If there's a player I've missed out or anything of that nature, do let me know. Oh, there's one more thing I'll show you. People often ask me about this, and you're going to be a bit underwhelmed, but I'll show you just so I've shown you. People always want to know about the staff. Yeah, I've got a massive scouting team, or like a massive scouting team. Let's put this by order. What is this currently by? What an absolute mess. Okay, so Oakley Jepson is still in charge since he took over from Peter Lim. We've got some coaches. I mean, in terms of names to look out for, I guess I'll go through a few. Gerrard is the assistant manager. Peter Krawietz is the current Liverpool assistant to Jurgen Klopp and is now with us. He's a coach for us. Elliot Pond is also a coach for us. I think Stephen Taylor, Dirk Kuyt is a coach for us. These are just names that you may well recognise. As we go further down, Billy Painter, Andy Tannoy, Ivan Perisic and Danny Webber, all scouts for us. It's a strange mishmash of people. If I just click a random one, for example, Elliot Pond, not that good, so he's here for sentimental reasons, and then people like João Carlos are very good. So there's a bit of a mix. There's some very good ones and some not so good ones. There's some sentimental ones and there's some very good ones. Steven Gerrard is a mixture of both, and that kind of sums up what it is. I don't really talk about it because I do it sporadically. I never really do it as, oh, let's go and sign loads of staff members. It's just like, oh, what do we need? Let's just get them now and bring them in and see who the best ones are and just sign them. So I never really mention it because that's just how I do it. It's not, I don't see it as like a big deal as part of the game. I'll say that much. Although it probably undoubtedly is. Scout-wise, we've had some shocking reports of players. Waste of everybody's time. I'm looking at Danny Webber. Final thing to mention before we go is that we failed financial fair play. I think we're still fine. I'm pretty sure we still qualify for everything, but we have been fined 3.6 million due to this. Sorry, I guess. We avoided a tax hit. We had a decent commercial summary as well. 47,000 or 45,000 shirts being sold, 7.2 brought in for merchandising. Menga sold the most shirts, who knew, as you can see the list there. That then pretty much brings us to the end. If you've enjoyed this little review of Salford, I mean, I guess this is the time. Who is your favourite Salford player ever? Who is the player that you've enjoyed watching the most throughout the years? I think for me it's probably a toss-up between Jeff Thomas and... oh, is there another one? I mean, Barry's been good, hasn't he? There's a few, though. It's difficult to say. I guess at some point I'll do my overall best 11. I'll do my best 11 of players that I've enjoyed the most. But yeah, I'd say that brings us to the end. Stay tuned tomorrow. There will be a world roundup. I will look through everything I've not covered in this video to the world. Who are the best teams now? Who are the most well-paid players? Who's managing where? Things like that. They're interesting little bits and pieces you might be intrigued by. So, with love, with care, from me, that's Benji. I'll see you soon. Hopefully you enjoy this little rundown of things that you may wonder about occasionally and never find out. And I might have mentioned this at the start. No, I did. About releasing the save. I'm not doing it. Sorry. There's two reasons. Two good reasons why. I'm sorry. But that wraps us up. Goodbye. I'll see you soon. One more year? Maybe.